You were not born to simply exist. You were not created to drift through days that feel empty, unnoticed, and unlived. Deep inside you is a power buried beneath fear, fatigue, and forgotten dreams of value that cannot be given by the world, yet one that can reshape it. And the moment you stop asking, when will life get better, and start asking, how can I become better, everything begins to change. This is Unlocking Wisdom, the channel where timeless truths meet modern transformation. Here, we don't chase motivation, we awaken it, because the power to change your life has always lived inside you. The foundation of self-worth, your inner value, defines your outer world. I want to speak to the part of you that has been silent for too long, the part that has been overlooked, dismissed, underestimated, not just by others, but by yourself. You've been taught that your value comes from what you achieve, from titles, from numbers, from who approves of you. But I'm here to tell you, as one who has walked through fire and built something from the soil of nothingness, you are more than what you do. You are more than what the world sees. Your value begins within, you see. I did not become a leader because I sought to be followed. I became a leader because I decided, long before anyone crowned me worthy, to lead myself. And that, friend, is the starting line of every transformation. When you begin to lead yourself toward the person you were always meant to be. You may look around right now and feel behind. You may believe life has passed you by. But what if I told you it hasn't even begun yet? Not until you take full ownership of one thing. Your value is not set, it's chosen. It's grown. It's strengthened. You weren't born with fixed worth. You were born with divine potential waiting to be claimed, shaped, and unleashed through action. But the world, the world is loud. It tells you to wait, to be small, to stay safe. It tells you to earn your worth by conforming, performing, and pretending. But when you believe that lie, you bury the truth that could free you. You don't increase your value by fitting in. You increase it by standing out in integrity, in character, in courage. And if you truly want to improve your life, you must first understand this fundamental truth. Your outer world will never rise higher than your inner belief. Let me say that again. Your outer world, your income, your relationships, your opportunities will never rise higher than your inner belief. That's why this journey doesn't begin with the world. It begins with you. With how you speak to yourself when no one is listening. With how you carry yourself when no one is watching. With the silent agreements you make with mediocrity every time you say, I'm fine, when your soul is begging for more. You cannot outrun your own reflection. You cannot outperform the identity you secretly believe is true. If you think you're not enough, your actions will reflect that. If you think you're meant to stay stuck, your behavior will prove it. And if you think success belongs to someone else, you'll keep living like a shadow. But what if today you broke that cycle? What if today you declared that you are no longer willing to settle for a version of life that is less than what you were made for? Because here is what I know. Every great life begins with a single act of rebellion against the lie that you are not valuable. When I took command of an army with more heart than weapons, I didn't have guarantees, but I had conviction. And that conviction came not from what others said about me, but from what I chose to believe about myself. Conviction is the soil where value grows. So ask yourself, are you living according to your truth or someone else's timeline? Are you nurturing your gifts or neglecting your greatness? Are you waiting for the world to change, or are you changing the world within? You see, the mistake most people make is they chase results, but results come last. What comes first is identity. You must become the person who can handle the life you want. If you want freedom, become responsible. If you want abundance, become disciplined. If you want respect, become respectable, not in the eyes of others, but in your own eyes. This is not about ego. This is about self-respect. Because when you respect yourself, You don't just raise your standards, you enforce them. You stop entertaining what drains you. You stop apologizing for your growth. You stop keeping people who keep you small. You start moving with clarity, with power, with purpose, because you know who you are. And I promise you this, when you increase your inner value, the world cannot help but take notice. They may not say it aloud, they may not clap, but they will feel it. Because when a person becomes aligned with their worth, they walk differently, they speak differently, they no longer beg for doors to open, they build their own. They no longer shrink in the face of doubt, they stand taller because their roots run deeper. So let me ask you right now honestly, with no excuses, what do you believe about your value? Not what you say, but what your actions reveal. Are you living like someone who believes they matter? Are you building your life like it has meaning? Are you investing in yourself like your future depends on it? Because it does. This is the beginning of a new kind of journey. One that doesn't start with a job or a relationship or a bank account. One that begins in the quiet space of your soul, where no one can give you permission and no one can take it away. You increase your value by deciding that your life is worth the effort. By declaring that mediocrity is no longer your standard. By aligning your habits, your mindset, your relationships with the person you're called to become. And if you truly commit to that, if you choose that path day after day, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, then your life won't just change. You will change. And when you change, everything around you rises with you. So let this be your beginning. Not the beginning of just working harder, but the beginning of becoming better. The beginning of believing deeper. The beginning of valuing yourself so deeply that every room you walk into begins to shift. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Master your inner world, reprogram the mind, reclaim the power. If there is one battlefield that determines the quality of your entire life, it is not the economy, not your relationships, not even your physical health. It is the invisible battlefield between your ears, the mind, that sacred ground where thoughts become beliefs, and beliefs become destiny. If you do not learn to master it, you will always be at war with yourself, wondering why your actions betray your intentions, why your life doesn't reflect your desires. But if you do choose to master it, everything begins to change from the inside out. Let me be clear, you cannot build a powerful life with a broken mindset. You cannot climb high while dragging the weight of old thinking and most of what holds you back right now. It's not real. It's not a lack of talent. It's not fate. It's not other people. It's the programming you inherited from a world that taught you to survive, not thrive. Your thoughts are not neutral. They are builders. Every thought is a brick in the house of your future. So if your mind is full of fear, doubt, and self-criticism, what kind of house are you building? Would you want to live there? You see, most people do not think their thoughts. Their thoughts think them. Old patterns, old pain, old narratives running on loop. You were told you weren't enough. You were told success is for others. You were told to play small. And now those lies live inside you like truth. But here's the awakening. You are not your thoughts. You are the thinker. And that means you have the power to choose. That's where your freedom begins, with awareness. When you catch the voice that says, I can't, you pause and ask, is this really true? Or is this just old programming? When you hear you'll never be good enough, you answer back, good enough for who? For what? I define my value now. When you feel fear rising in your chest, you breathe deep and remember, fear is a signal, not a stop sign. If you want to increase your value, you must begin here, not with your resume, not with your clothes, not with your social media, but with the invisible code running your mind. And this reprogramming is not done in a day. No, it's a daily discipline, like brushing your soul clean. You wake up and speak new beliefs. You meditate to clear the noise. You write out your vision until it is burned into your heart. You surround yourself with messages that uplift, not media that drains. You eliminate voices that feed your weakness. You seek truth, not comfort. Because here's the truth. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your self-image. If you still believe you're broken, unworthy, or not the type, you will always sabotage the very things you desire. But if you begin to see yourself clearly as capable, worthy, resilient, you will start making choices that reflect that belief. And those choices, they compound. One bold choice leads to another. One new belief leads to action. One action becomes a habit, and habits build character, and character determines destiny. Do not wait for others to validate you. That wait is a prison. Validate yourself by acting in alignment with who you want to become. Speak life into your identity. Say, I am powerful, even if you don't feel it yet, especially if you don't feel it yet, because that is how power grows, by being claimed before it's fully visible. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable. You are rewiring your entire mental world. That's not easy. But would you rather be comfortable in mediocrity or uncomfortable in transformation? This is the inner work no one sees. The silent battles. The mornings when you rise early to speak affirmations instead of snoozing. The nights when you turn down noise so you can hear your intuition. The moments when you catch a negative spiral and gently pull yourself back. That's the real work. And it's sacred. If you can win the battle within, you will win the battles without. So choose this day to begin. Reprogram your mind. Be ruthless with what you allow to take root. Feed only what you want to grow. And when the old programming shows up, don't run, don't shame yourself. Just say, not anymore. I've outgrown this thought. And let it go. You are not here to live on autopilot. You are here to awaken. And once you begin living from truth, not fear, there is nothing that can hold you back. So I ask you now, who do you choose to be? The fire within, reclaiming your inner strength. There is a strength inside you that you've barely touched. A depth of resilience that has carried your ancestors through storms, fire, famine, war, and loss, and that same strength runs in your veins. It waits not in the spotlight, but in the quiet corners of your soul. It waits for your permission to rise. But here's the truth no one tells you: this strength is not activated in comfort. It doesn't awaken when everything goes right. It comes alive when you're forced to dig deep. It is born in pressure. It thrives in resistance. You cannot wish your way into strength. You forge it. And the fire that forges you is not always the fire you want, it's the one you need. You grow, not when life is easy, but when life demands more from you than you thought you could give, and you still rise. You grow the day you stop asking the world to go easy on you, and you start asking yourself to be stronger for the world. This is what it means to increase your value. It's not about being liked. It's not about being perfect. It's about becoming someone who is unshakable, not because life never hits them, but because they never stay down. So let me ask you, when was the last time you honored the warrior in you? Not the performer, not the people pleaser, not the version of you trained to be polite, silent, and small, but the real you, the one who dares, the one who dreams, the one who is willing to be misunderstood, to live a meaningful life. To increase your value, you must stop outsourcing your identity. You must stop waiting for permission. You must stop comparing yourself to a highlight reel of someone else's story, while ignoring the gold buried in your own. Let me remind you, your value does not come from how others see you. It comes from how deeply you are willing to face your own fears and still move forward. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the mastery of it. It's standing tall when everything inside you wants to shrink. It's speaking truth when silence would be easier. It's walking into unknown territory, not because you're sure of the outcome, but because you trust the person you're becoming. And to trust yourself, you must first know yourself. So slow down. Go inward. Turn off the noise. Tune into the stillness. In that quiet place, you'll hear your own voice again. Not the voice of fear, not the voice of your past, not the voice of the world, but the voice of your soul. It is calm, but powerful, It does not scream, but it does not lie. It will guide you, but only if you are still enough to listen. Your inner strength is connected to your inner voice. And if you've been disconnected, it's time to come home. Not to a place, but to yourself. Because no strategy, no mentor, no technique will make up for a person who is out of alignment. You can chase success your whole life, but if you are not grounded in who you are, success will never feel like fulfillment. It will just feel like a performance. True power is quiet. It's not about proving, it's about knowing. Knowing who you are, what you value, what you stand for, what you're no longer willing to tolerate, what you're willing to fight for. And once you reclaim this power, you begin to show up differently. Not with arrogance, but with presence. Not with fear, but with clarity. Not with desperation, but with conviction. This is what others begin to feel when they're around you. And this is when your value begins to multiply, not because you shouted louder, but because you finally stood rooted in your truth. So stop running from the fire. Step into it. Let it burn away the false identities, the need for approval, the fear of rejection. Let it refine you, not destroy you. Because the person you're becoming, that person has depth, that person has strength, that person has endured. Too much to give up now. You were not put here to live lukewarm. You were made to rise, to break cycles, to carry light into dark places, to be a voice for truth in a world addicted to comfort. But you cannot do this while hiding. You cannot change the world while shrinking from your own reflection. So rise. Even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble, even if the world tells you you're too much or not enough, rise anyway. Because every time you stand in your strength, you raise your value. Not just in the eyes of others, but in your own soul. You begin to feel proud not for what you've achieved, but for who you've become in the process. And that's the goal, isn't it? Not just to win, but to become someone who doesn't need the win to know they are worthy. That is real power. That is true value. So as you leave this moment and step back into your life, remember this: you don't need to be fearless. You just need to be faithful to your calling, to your growth, to your becoming. And when you are, everything changes. Live with purpose. Every choice is a declaration of who you are. There is a turning point in every person's life, a moment not defined by age, title, or status, but by something deeper, a sacred moment when you stop running from responsibility and start stepping into purpose, when you stop waiting for someone to tell you what matters, and you start defining it for yourself. Most people are not living. They are reacting to expectations, reacting to problems, reacting to pain. And in this constant state of reaction, they lose themselves. They forget that life is not about keeping up, it's about aligning within. But those who truly rise, those who become unshakable, magnetic, deeply fulfilled, are not reacting. They are creating with intention, with purpose, with clarity. You want to increase your value? Then stop asking, what should I do today? And start asking, who do I want to become? Because when that answer becomes clear, your actions will no longer be random. They will be sacred. Purpose is not something you find. It's something you choose. It's not a single path. It's a way of walking. It's not about being famous or flawless. It's about being faithful to something larger than your fear. So what is your why? Not the shallow one, not the one you post online, but the one that makes your heart ache, the one that moves. You too, tears, the one that says, I am here for a reason and I will not leave this earth without honoring it. That why will carry you when motivation fades. That why will ground you when pressure rises. That why will make the sacrifices make sense. Because suddenly, you're no longer chasing approval, you're answering a call. Living with purpose doesn't mean life gets easier, but it means everything gets meaningful. Your struggles become teachers. Your setbacks become fuel. Your time becomes sacred. And in a world obsessed with doing more, you begin to live better. Not faster, not louder, but deeper. You wake up not to check your inbox, but to check in with your soul. You no longer chase every opportunity. You ask, does this align with who I am becoming? And if the answer is no, you let it go. Because your life is too valuable to waste on distractions dressed as progress. This is what intentional living feels like. It is quiet. It is fierce. It is unshakable. People will not always understand. Some will question why you no longer say yes to everything, why you protect your mornings, why you read instead of scroll, why you say no to certain relationships, why you walk away from the crowd. Let them wonder. You are not here to be understood. You are here to become undeniable. Every single choice you make is a vote. A vote for the future you want. A vote for the values you claim. A vote for the kind of life you're building. And those votes add up. They become patterns. And those patterns become character. And character, that's what people feel before they know your name. That's what speaks louder than any resume or appearance. That's what sets you apart without needing to compete. But here's the truth. Living with purpose requires courage. It requires discomfort. Because it asks you to give up fitting in for the sake of becoming authentic. It asks you to slow down in a world that glorifies speed. To listen in a world that never stops shouting. To walk your path even when it's lonely because your soul told you to. You will be tempted to go back, to take shortcuts, to compromise, to pretend. Don't. Every time you choose alignment over approval, your value increases not just in the eyes of others, but in your own soul. So craft your life like an artist, not rushing to fill every space but pausing, reflecting, choosing each stroke with care. Wake up each day and ask, what would someone living with purpose do today? Then do it. It may feel small, it may go unnoticed, but over time it will change everything. Because purpose is a quiet revolution, and every revolution begins within. So listen, you are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be to begin again with deeper clarity, stronger intention, and unshakable purpose. Don't let this world convince you that you must be someone else to be valuable. You are valuable when you are most you. So live your truth, speak your truth, walk your truth, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you, even when no one applauds. Because this life, this one, sacred, short life was never meant to be survived. It was meant to be aligned. And when you are aligned, everything that truly matters finds its way to you. Master yourself. Control the inner before you conquer the outer. Let me tell you something most people never hear. You are not your emotions. You are the observer, the chooser, the one who has the power to respond instead of react. But if you don't learn to lead your inner world, the outer world will lead you. And the world does not always lead with truth. It leads with fear, with noise, with urgency. It pulls you in 100 directions. Unless you've planted your feet firmly in the soil of who you are. You don't rise by chasing more, you rise by mastering less. Fewer distractions, fewer emotional outbursts, fewer excuses. And it all begins with the most powerful battlefield you will ever step into, your own mind. The most successful, most fulfilled, most grounded people don't live easy lives. They live intentional lives. They've trained themselves to think differently, feel deeply without drowning, and lead their thoughts instead of being led by them. Mastery is not found in reacting to every voice, every criticism, every obstacle. It's found in stillness. It's found in choosing your response. It's found in being the calm inside your own storm. So if you want to increase your value, don't just chase new skills. Train yourself to hold your peace when the world shakes. Train yourself to stay present when the moment gets hard. Train yourself to speak life into your path. Instead of repeating the language of fear, you will not master your life until you master your patterns. So ask yourself, what thoughts run through your mind when no one is watching? Are they building you up or breaking you down? Would you speak to someone you love the way you speak to yourself? Too many people live in silent war with their inner voice, They are sharp, cruel, dismissive. They beat themselves before life ever throws the first punch. But hear me, you cannot build a powerful life on the foundation of self-hatred. You cannot rise while dragging the weight of guilt and shame. You cannot shine while dimming your own worth behind closed doors. If you want to increase your value, then start with your own internal dialogue. Rewire the script. Speak truth over your fears. Say what you need to hear even if no one else is saying it. Tell yourself, I'm not broken. I am rebuilding. I am not lost. I am being led. I am not behind. I am preparing for something greater. Because you are. You always were. Now. Emotional mastery isn't about denying your feelings. It's about not becoming a prisoner to them. It's okay to feel anger. It's okay to feel fear. But do not let them take the wheel. Do not build your decisions, your future, your identity on temporary emotions. Train yourself to sit in discomfort without fleeing, to pause before reacting, to breathe when it will be easier to blame, to reflect when it will be easier to explode. This kind of self-leadership is not glamorous. It doesn't win applause, but it increases your power because no one can take from a person who rules their own inner world. Most people believe they are tired because of how much they are doing, but they are tired because of how much they are resisting their feelings, resisting growth, resisting change, resisting the truth that they need to face something within. And energy doesn't return by resting alone, it returns by realigning. Your peace will return the moment you stop betraying your own boundaries. Your clarity will return the moment you stop abandoning yourself for acceptance. Your energy will return the moment you reclaim control over where your mind goes. When life gets hard, this is emotional integrity. When your inner world supports your outer actions. When your heart, your mind, your words, and your choices begin to flow in the same direction. It feels like power, because it is. You cannot fake emotional maturity. You live it every day. With every decision, you live it when you say no without guilt. You live it when you say yes without fear. You live it when you admit you're wrong without shame. You live it when you choose peace over proving. Master yourself, and you will outlast the chaos of this world. You will walk through fire and come out refined, not burned. You will stand in storms, not because you are immune, but because you are rooted. People will ask, how are you so calm? And you'll know, it's not calmness you've found. It's ownership. Ownership over your thoughts. Ownership over your actions. Ownership over your identity. And once you've taken back that power, you'll never settle again. So the next time your emotions rise, pause, breathe, feel, choose. You are not your past reaction. You are your present intention. Choose the kind of person you are becoming. Choose the energy you bring into the room. Choose the peace you carry, even when chaos surrounds you. Because true strength isn't loud. It's grounded. It's quiet confidence. It's peace in motion. And every time you choose growth over comfort, discipline over impulse, vision over distraction, you raise your value, not by chasing the world, but by leading yourself through it. Be real with yourself. Your authentic self is your power. Let me speak directly to the part of you that's been hiding, the part that knows how to shine, but has been dimmed for too long. You don't need to be like everyone else to matter. You don't need to fit into someone else's idea of success to rise. You only need to become who you really are. That's where your power lives, in the raw, the honest, the imperfect but unstoppable truth of your being. Most people are performing. They are living a version of life built from layers of fear, conditioning, and the need to belong. They follow rules they never wrote. They silence parts of themselves just to be accepted. And then they wonder why they feel empty even when they appear to be succeeding. But listen closely, success without authenticity is just another form of suffering. It is success built on self-betrayal. And no title, no income, No applause can fill the void of a life lived out of alignment with the soul. So today, I want to ask you, where are you pretending? Where are you being small to stay comfortable? Where are you wearing a mask to feel loved? Where are you quieting your truth because someone told you it was too much? The version of you that's afraid to ruffle feathers, the version that doesn't speak up, the version that sacrifices freedom for validation, that version is not the real you. That's the version life created when you thought you had no choice. But you do have a choice. Every single day, you have the power to return to yourself, to stop performing and start becoming. Because when you are real, you stop needing permission. When you are real, you stop chasing people who don't see you. When you are real, you step into rooms with the kind of energy that makes others listen, not because you're loud, but because you are true. Authenticity is rare, and what's rare is valuable. So if you want to increase your value, get honest with yourself. Strip away the narratives. Remove the lies that have wrapped around your identity like chains. Let go of who you think you should be, and instead ask, who am I without the fear? The truth may scare you, because the truth asks you to shed your old skin, to leave behind the versions of yourself that made others comfortable, to walk away from roles that earned applause but cost you your peace. But you know what else the truth brings? Freedom. And freedom is priceless. You were not born to conform, you were born to express. You were not created to mimic, you were created to create. You were not sent here to impress, you were sent here to impact. And impact begins with integrity. The moment you stop apologizing for who you are is the moment your life begins to transform. Not because everything around you changes, but because you finally stop standing in your own way. Yes, there will be people who won't understand. Yes, you may lose connections that were only meant for the version of you that pretended. But you will gain something far greater, yourself. And when you walk in the full power of who you are, you attract what's meant for your path, not what's meant for the mask. So be bold. Be honest. Be free. Stop diluting your voice to keep the peace. Stop minimizing your light to make others feel comfortable in their shadows. Stop seeking approval from those who never truly saw you. The world does not need another imitation. It needs the real you, the fierce, flawed, brilliant soul who is something sacred to give. You want to increase your value? Then stop measuring yourself by other people's expectations. Stop measuring yourself by your alignment. Are you living a life that feels like your truth? Are you doing work that ignites your spirit? Are you in relationships that mirror your worth? Are you waking up proud of who you're becoming? If not, don't wait. Don't wait for the breakdown. Don't wait for someone to give you permission. Don't wait until it's too late to live a life that was always yours to claim. The longer you delay your truth, the louder your soul will ache. And that ache isn't punishment, it's a divine reminder. A whisper from the highest part of you saying, come home. It's time. So come home to your voice. Come home to your values. Come home to your uniqueness. Because that is where your value multiplies, not in what you gain, but in who you become when you no longer run from yourself. Authenticity is not about being loud. It's about being rooted. It's not about being accepted. It's about being. Be whole. Even if it means being misunderstood. Be whole, even if the world doesn't get it yet. Because when you live in wholeness, you don't need the world to validate you. You become your own anchor. Rise into your highest self. Become what you were meant to be. You've come this far not by accident, but by the deep pull of destiny. And now you stand at the edge of the most important threshold in your life, not between success and failure, not between fear and courage, but between who you've been and who you are becoming. This moment, this final turning point, is not about more motivation. It's about full activation. The world doesn't need more people who talk about change. It needs more people who embody it, who walk into a room and carry the weight of their own transformation, who lead not by words but by presence. And that presence begins with a choice, to become the highest version of yourself. Not someday, not after you feel ready, but now. You see, everything you've heard so far, every truth you've absorbed, every fire that's stirred inside you wasn't meant to just inspire. It was meant to awaken. Because the value you bring to this world has nothing to do with what others say you're worth. It has everything to do with what you decide to live out loud. So let me say this clearly. Your life is your responsibility. Not your parents, not your friends, not your pasts, not the systems, not fates. It belongs to you. Every breath, every moment, every second is a deposit into the person you're choosing to become. And if you want more, then be more. Be more disciplined. Be more focused. Be more kind. Be more relentless. Be more honest with yourself. This is not about chasing perfection. This is about chasing alignment. Becoming the kind of person who doesn't just hope for better, but demands better by living it. Ask yourself this. What would my life look like if I finally stepped fully into who I am meant to be? Not half-in, not when it's easy, not when others approve, but full in, unshakable, undeniable, unapologetic. This world bends to those who refuse to bow to fear. This world remembers those who lead with integrity, with heart, with clarity. And that kind of leadership doesn't require a stage. It requires ownership. Ownership of your thoughts, ownership of your energy, ownership of your time, ownership of your presence. Every moment you hesitate, you give permission to fear to win. Every time you say, I'm not ready, you deny the truth that's already burning inside you. And every time you make excuses, you sell your future for the comfort of your past. But you were not born for excuses. You were born for elevation. You were born for expansion. You were born for excellence. And excellence isn't something you stumble into, it's something you become, moment by moment, choice by choice, breath by breath. So stop waiting. Stop negotiating with your potential. Stop believing the lie that your value will rise when others see it. It rises when you claim it. Claim it by the way you carry yourself. Claim it by the standards you set and hold. Claim it by the way you rise again every time life tries to knock you down. Because if you want your life to be better, you must be better. And better doesn't mean perfect. It means honest. It means committed. It means awake. You want more meaning. Start living with intention. You want more confidence. Keep the promises you make to yourself. You want more peace. Stop fighting your truth. You want more purpose? Start becoming someone you deeply respect. It doesn't matter what's happened before this moment. It doesn't matter how far you feel behind. What matters is what you do next. Because every next decision writes the next chapter. And when that chapter is written, let it speak of someone who refused to settle. Let it tell the story of a person who burned down the lies they once believed and rose from the ashes as someone new. Let it echo with the strength of a soul who stopped waiting to be chosen and chose themselves. You are that person. You are the author. You are the builder. You are the flame. So rise and let the world feel the tremble of a life lived with full intention. If this message awakens something in you, leave a comment below, give it a like, and subscribe to Unlocking Wisdom, where purpose meets power, and your future begins now.